All right, ladies and gentlemen, so during the last lesson we thought about sort of the essay, how an explanatory essay comes together. We looked at the elements, we also looked at the example essay. So today we're going to be talking about how to brainstorm ideas for your explanatory essay writing and also determine the connections between those different ideas and just sort of start to get our ideas together. We're going to go ahead and start at looking at the prompt that the author used in the example essay. So this is not the prompt for your essay, this is the example prompt. So in the example prompt, it says, students spend many hours per day in the classroom. Explain how the physical classroom environment impacts learning. So now that we understand the prompt, we're going to go ahead and take this graphic organizer and we're going to brainstorm some ideas about how these classroom might impact learning. So in the center, I'm just writing the topic of the prompt, which is classroom environment and learning. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just think about some ideas of like what are some ways that maybe the classroom environment could impact learning. Well, I might think about, well, there's decorations in classrooms. There's also posters. In a classroom, we also have like furniture. We have desks. We have tables. We also have information in the classroom that should be visible. And then a classroom probably shouldn't have clutter, so no clutter. It should be organized. It should have supplies. And when I think about students and how they feel in a classroom, I am thinking that students definitely should feel like they belong and maybe confident to be able to share what they think and learn. So in that brainstorm, I've just written down like the first ideas that sort of popped into my head. Now, I did it really quickly, but it might take you a little bit of time to get these ideas together. Now, once I have these ideas together, I'm going to think about, well, which ideas do I for sure want to include in my specific essay? Well, I definitely want to talk about maybe decorations and posters. Like, those are really important to me for discussion. I might also say that there should be helpful information visible because that is going to help students learn. And maybe I'm going to say there should be like no clutter and it should be organized. And I want those ideas to go together, so I'm going to circle those together. So that gives me a beginning of my ideas getting together. I want to think about, okay, those are the ones I want to for sure have in my essay. Now, does that mean that I won't talk about the other ideas? No, it just means I'm going to focus on these, and if the other ideas happen to come into that, then that's just going to be one element of my essay. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take a moment to look at your prompt, which is going to be, kids are often told to clean their rooms or stay organized. Explain how clutter impacts the brain. So this right here is going to be your guys' prompt for your essay. Okay, so what I want you to do is, just like I just did with the example prompt, I want you to take a moment to brainstorm some different ideas of how do you think clutter impacts your brain. So again, in the center, we're going to say clutter impacts the brain. So think of some ways that maybe clutter could impact your brain. And I want you to list at least 6 ideas out here in your circle map. so now that we have some of our ideas put together, I'm going to take the example prompt and I'm going to show you the next step. Now at this point, you're not going to copy what I'm doing. I'm just going to show you what you should be doing now that you have your own circle map filled in with your prompt. So this point, we're just watching, and then you will do this process with your prompt. But here, I'm going to be using the example prompt, so do not copy what I'm doing right now. All right, so now that I have some ideas put together, I've identified some of the ideas that I for sure want to have in my essay. I'm going to start brainstorming how these ideas are connected and what relationship they share. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer over my ideas from my circle map into my ideas. So my idea number 1, I'm just going to write decorations and posters. And this is exactly what I wrote in my circle map. That was one of the ideas that I circled. Then I'm going to put information easily visible and accessible. And it's that important information. Then my last idea from my circle map was it's organized with no clutter. Now that I have the basic ideas, I'm going to think about how are these ideas connected to each other, how do they interact, and how do they all connect with this idea of how physical classroom environment impacts learning. So when I think about decorations and posters, well, I know that I want the classroom to be welcoming. Okay, so classroom should be welcoming. And we're going to think welcoming for who? Well, for students. Because students aren't going to learn if they don't feel welcome. Then I have easily visible, important information. So I'm thinking, where would that information be found? Well, a lot of classrooms, it's the decorations and the posters. So decorations and posters can really be meaningful and helpful for students. So decorations and posters can be meaningful with information that the class needs. Okay. And then it says organized and no clutter. So if I think about it, well, everything should be easy to find. And also, when I think about posters, there shouldn't be too many decorations or too many things so that the classroom feels cluttered. So what I've done now is I've just taken the ideas directly from my brainstorming map. I've thought about how they are connected to each other, how they are related, and I've just started to sort of write down my initial thoughts on how these different things might impact students. What you're now going to do is you have your own copy of this exact graphic organizer. You're going to take those ideas that you put in your map, you're going to put your 3 ideas on the left, and you're going to explain how do these different elements connect to the idea of how clutter impacts the brain. If you have questions, please make sure to come over to my room so that I can help you with this process, because if you get stuck, this is going to be very vital for your final essay, so you need to make sure that you have this piece finished. All right, go ahead and get started.